What is up, everyone? I'm Rusty, your local laboratory maniac, and this is Labman EDH. If you are looking to spice up your EDH nights, you found the right channel and definitely the right video. I will be going over 5 unique deck ideas that you can use as inspiration to build your own versions of the deck. I will have deck links in the comments down below if you want them. I have an update for the channel in this video as well, so keep your ear out for that. Without further ado, let's just jump into these decks. This first deck is based around exiling your opponent's graveyards. There are a lot of cards that benefit when you do that. Also, there's cards that benefit from your opponents having no cards in their graveyard. Tygam, Sidisi's Hand, is the commander I chose for this, and I did that for a few reasons. One, he is under the radar. You want to pick typically a commander that your opponents aren't afraid of. At first, I had Umbris as the commander. He's the go-to Dimir exile things commander because he gets boosted for each card you exile. However, people react negatively to him because he not only mills people essentially, but he mills them into exile instead of the graveyard. So people kind of hate it. Tygam, Sidisi's Hand. He's great value. He stays under the radar. So he's a 5-mana Dimir legendary creature, human wizard. You skip your draw step, and then at the beginning of your upkeep, you look at the top 3 cards of your library, you put one into your hand, and the rest go into the graveyard. Then you can pay a black, tap them, exile X cards from your graveyard. Target creature gets -X until end of turn, and he's a 3/4. So he's getting you card filtering, putting things into your graveyard, and he can be removal. So I just think he's a good value commander. And that milling will come into effect. We want things in our graveyard, and we don't want things in our opponent's graveyard. Now, the lore of Tygam's kind of weird. There's actually 2 timelines. Basically, long story short, Sarkhan loves dragons so much, but he lived in a world without any dragons. Humans defeated the dragons. So he goes back in time to save all the dragons. So now the dragons rule over everything, making everyone's life essentially miserable. And Sarkhan gets the love of his dragon daddy. Now, in the original timeline, Tygam was trained by the Khan Narset on the Jeskai clan, but he defected to the Sultai brood to find true power. He made a pact with a Rakasha, which is a cat demon. He rose through the ranks, becoming the personal enforcer of the Khan. And then in the alternative timeline, he stayed with the Jeskai but sided with the dragons against Narset. Exiling graveyards that are already filled is going to be very important. There's going to be multiple situations where you're exiling stuff. It could be from the top of their library. It could be from their hand. It could be when a creature dies. But later in the game, you're going to want a lot of cards that exile whole graveyards. Author of Shadows is one of those. It's a 5-mana black creature. When it ETBs, you exile all cards from all opponents' graveyards. Then you choose one of those cards. You can cast it with any mana color, and he's a 3/3. Now, if a creature dies, we also want to exile it, of course, to stop our opponents from recurring it or getting death triggers. Because remember, some say exile it instead, so it's a replacement effect. Gissa, Glorious Resurrector, is a 4-mana black legendary creature. When a creature an opponent controls dies, exile it instead. At the beginning of your upkeep, you put all cards exiled under her onto the battlefield under your control, but they get decayed, and she is a 4/4. So you're taking our opponent's stuff with actually both of these, so it's almost like a sub-theme of the deck. We want to play cards that benefit from our opponent having nothing in their library, and there's a lot of older cards that do this. Surprising Bailiff is a 5-mana blue creature. When it ETBs, remove all artifacts and enchantments from all graveyards. Then when it leaves, you return those to the hand. You are going to be milling yourself with the commander, so you will have some in your graveyard, hopefully, but the opponent won't have anything, and they won't be able to return anything because hopefully you've exiled their graveyard. Keeper of the Dead is a great repeatable removal effect for this deck. It's a 2-mana black creature. You tap a black and it destroy target non-black creature. Only do it if your opponent has 2 or fewer creatures in their graveyard, and it's a 1/2. So hopefully you exile everything that you destroy so you can just do this every turn. Living death effects are great in this deck as well because your opponent will have no creatures and hopefully you'll have a bunch. Now, Bringer of the Last Gift is a fun example because he's a demon. I love those kinds of cards. It's an 8 mana black creature with flying. When it ETBs, if you cast it, each player sacrifices all their creatures they control. And then you return all creatures from your graveyard to the battlefield, so does your opponent. And then bang bada boom, you kind of just exchange all the creatures you control with all the creatures in the graveyard. Well, your opponent will hopefully have a bunch of creatures on the field, but none in their graveyard. So you essentially one-sided board wipe and return all your creatures. That's and he's a 6/6 flyer. That's pretty good. Then you got something like Magus of the Bridge. It is a 3 mana black creature that says whenever a non-token creature is put into your graveyard, you create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. And then whenever a creature is put into an opponent's graveyard from the battlefield, exile Magus of the Bridge, and he's a 4/4. So there's actually an enchantment version of this, obviously, because he is a Magus. Those are usually just reprints in creature form. However, if you have Gissa out or something that's replacing your opponent's stuff from dying, then this is just all upside because nothing's going to go in your opponent's graveyard. Here's a few more cards, and keep in mind a lot of these cards are older. You may not have them. However, they're pretty cheap. They're not played in EDH. That's kind of what I like about this deck and decks like it. You get to play cards you normally would never play. Oath of the Ghouls. When's the last time you saw this bad boy on the field? It's a 2 mana black enchantment. It says during each player's upkeep, if there are more creature cards in that player's graveyard than target opponent's graveyard, that player returns a creature card from his or her graveyard into his or her hand. So it's benefiting you because you're going to have more creatures all the time, typically. Then you got Gravestorm. It's a 3 mana black enchantment that lets you draw a card if an opponent doesn't exile a card from their graveyard, which they probably won't. And if they do, and maybe they have one card, bang, bada, boom, get that thing out of here anyway. We want things exiled and we want to draw. So either way, you win. Mist of Stagnation is a 5 mana blue enchantment that makes it so you can only untap permanents for each card in your graveyard. And this applies to your opponents as well. Your opponents may have 0 cards in their graveyard, so they'll actually untap 0. You will have a bunch, hopefully, so you'll be untapping everything. Web of Inertia is a 3 mana blue enchantment. It makes an opponent exile a card from his or her graveyard if they want to attack you. Hopefully, they don't have anything to exile so they can attack you. Or, worst case scenario, they do exile something, which is what we want anyway. There are things that benefit directly from exiling stuff. One of the best one is Oblivion Sower. It is a 6 mana colorless creature. Whenever you cast it, target opponent exiles the top 4 cards from his or her library. Then you put any number of lands that they have in exile onto the battlefield under your control. And you're going to be exiling like crazy. So you're hopefully going to get a bunch of lands. And he has a 5/8, which is pretty good. And since we won't have a draw step, because remember, our commander actually makes us skip our draw step. So there are cards you can play around with that. Psychic Possession is one example. It's a 4 mana blue enchantment aura, enchant opponent. Skip your draw step. We don't care about that. Whenever enchanted opponent draws a card, you draw the card. So if you're facing a blue opponent, you pop this on them. You're not having a draw step anyway. So bang, bada, boom. And that's essentially the deck. You want to exile all your opponent's stuff, play cards that benefit from that, play Exile Tribal situations, and then maybe play a few things that don't care about skipping your draw step. Just real quick, I wanted to put out there September 1st, I'll be launching a Discord and a Patreon. I want to put the bar of entry as low as possible so I can play games and talk to as many of you as possible while also avoiding bots. I hear those are a thing here. I don't know. So I made it $1. I'm not in it for the money, of course. All profits will go into the channel, hopefully with some giveaways. I'm planning to do at least one giveaway a month. Now, if Patreon isn't your thing, totally respect that. You just watching, commenting, and liking my videos is more than enough for me. I'm new to this, of course, so if you see any perks you'd like in a Patreon, I'm open ears. I'm flexible there. This next deck is a color shifted deck. The theme of this deck is Flash. Now, normally you will see Flash in the form of blue, sometimes black, think Demir Fairies, but we're actually going the exact opposite. We're going Naya. Annie Flash, the veteran, is the character we're choosing because she has Flash in her name and she has the ability Flash. So she's a 6 mana Naya colored legendary creature, human rogue with Flash. And when she ETBs, if you cast it, return a permanent with CMC 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. And then when she becomes tapped, you impulse draw 2, and she's a 4/5. So she's good utility, and that's what this deck really is. It's just a deck filled with amazing utility with creatures you can play at instant speed. Annie Flash is from Thunder Junction, a plane of outlaws and Wild West theme. Quick Draw, a theme of westerns, is her style. She joined Oko's gang. If you remember Oko, he's that Simic colored fairy planeswalker that's like known for his hijinks. It was a strange storyline that ended up with Jace and Veraska getting a character named the Loot, which is a map to the multi. He's a multiverse GPS. What? She got knocked out at the Battle of the Vault, but Kellen saved her. Kellen is Oko's son. And she eventually retires to a ranch, which is a nice ending. Let's see how long that nice ending lasts. Now, there are some cards in this color pairing that benefit from playing stuff on opponent's turn, so we're not without any benefit. Death Leaper Terror Weapon is a 4 mana Gruul legendary creature with flash haste and has creatures you control that enter this turn have double strike. And he is a 3/3, so he makes flashing in creatures to block pretty great. They're not gonna sit. You'll find that attack steps are a lot different when your opponent realizes everything you control has flash. Dreamstalker Mana Core is a 3 mana red enchantment creature that deals 1 damage for the first spell you cast during your opponent's turn to any target. It's a 4/2. So you can kind of snipe small creatures or ping your opponent. Glade Muse is a 3 mana green creature that says whenever a player casts a spell not on their own turn, that player draws a card, and it's a 2/4. This mostly benefits you, but it could also benefit your opponent, so keep that in mind. Veilstone Amulet is another favorite of mine. It's a 3 mana artifact that gives creatures you control Shroud until end of turn if you play a spell. So it's great protection, making every flash creature give all your creatures Shroud. That's pretty good. Even though we aren't playing blue, we can also have interaction like counter spells. This is almost like blue light or pseudo blue, maybe. Green Slime is a 3 mana green creature with flash. You can foretell it for a green, and then it counters an activated or triggered ability from an artifact or enchantment, then destroys it, and it's a 2/2. Then you got Even Interrupter. It is a 3 mana white creature with flash, flying, and then exiles a spell on ETB and spells your opponents cast from graveyards or exile costs 2 generic more to cast. And he's a 2/2. So this actually shuts down Prosper decks. Those guys always go ham with the exile and treasures. As I said, combat is going to be very interesting with this deck. Your opponent's not going to want to do it. You're also going to run stuff like Selfless Squire, which is a fog. You know how much I love fogs. It's a 4 mana white creature with flash. And when it ETPs, it fogs all damage dealt to you this turn. Then when damage is prevented, put that many counters on +1/+1 counters on it. And I just realized actually, if you fog again on a later turn, this would also still trigger her ability, getting her more counters. So this could be a cool blink secret commander kind of card. Okay, I'm gonna put that in the back of the mind there. Maybe later. Anyway, so there are also Angel of Grace. It's a 5 mana white creature with flash, flying, and when it ETBs, damage that would reduce your life to 0 reduces it to 1 instead. Then you can exile her from your graveyard to make your life total 10. It's an Angel's Grace essentially on a stick, and is a 5/4, so that's pretty good with flying. That's good stats right there. Radiant Performer is a brutal card. It's 5 mana red creature with flash. And when it ETBs, if you cast it, choose target spell or ability that targets one single target. Then you copy it for every legal target you can. Okay, so if someone generous gifts, you can cast this in response to copy that spell. And because it doesn't say a creature you control or anything like that. It just, if you cast it from your hand, choose target spell or ability that targets only a single permanent or player. So, oh my god, this you could someone cast Generous Gift and you just destroy everything. That's insane to me. That's insane. Then you got Wind Shaper Plantar. It is a good one. It's a 5-mana white creature with flash flying, and when it ETBs, during the attack step, you can rearrange which attacking creatures is attacking what. So if someone swings all out on you with their Creator Hoof and army of Tintins, oh, you're going to be like, oh, actually, you're going to go at my other opponent. It's pretty tricky. There's a lot of creatures that actually ETB and then blink something. Salvation Swan is good for this. It's a 4-mana creature with flash flying. And when it or a bird ETBs, you can blink a non-flyer, then return it at the end step. And he's a 3/3. Now, you're going to want to blink a lot because a lot of your abilities are ETB abilities. And a lot of your cards are going to be creatures. This is a creature heavy deck. So stuff like Armored Scrap Gorger, which is a mana dork that taps for mana. You're going to, most of your mana dorks, or most of your mana ramp is going to be mana dorks. And that helps with later on. We're going to be playing a lot of overrun effects to win the game. But that's essentially the deck. You play a non-blue, non-black flash deck with so many good utility creatures. Your opponents aren't going to be able to predict what you're going to do next. A lot of these cards never see any play, so you're going to catch them by surprise and really flash your opponents. Sometimes I kind of just, thumb through a whole bunch of cards, and I was doing that. I have a whole binder of uncommons, one for each color. And I saw a Spiny Starfish, and I'm like, this guy's pretty neat. I really wish they made Patrick this in that secret lair. That would have been really cool. However, I digress. Now, it is a 3-mana blue creature. You pay a blue to regenerate Spiny Starfish. Then, at the end step, if it regenerated, you make a 0/1 blue starfish for each time it regenerated. So this is also going to be a regeneration theme kind of deck. Ragnar from Legends is a 3-mana Bant creature. It's a legendary creature that can tap to actually regenerate something, which is pretty cool. Now, I don't know if you're aware of this, but regenerate is actually something Magic is moving away from because apparently the rules are too complicated for it. But we'll talk about the rules here in a second. Ragnar was a gifted healer from Kusho on Dominaria. He used methods of raw green mana to heal people. I always thought he used the white magic is what he used, but he's actually more of like honed in on the green, hence the regenerate. That's usually a green thing. He was a devoted worshiper of Gaia, the world goddess. He was a member of a tribe, and eventually that is actually what got him killed, being a member of his tribe. Kusho is an island and it's associated with blue and white mana. Quick rules lawyer. Regeneration is a destruction replacement effect. The word instead doesn't appear on the card, but is implicit in the definition of regeneration. Remember, most replacement effects will say instead, of course. Now, regenerate means the next time the permanent regenerating would be destroyed this turn, instead remove all damage marked on it and its controller taps it. If it's an attacking or blocking creature, you remove it from combat. Abilities that trigger from damage being dealt still trigger even if the permanent regenerates. Remember, you are removing all the marked damage. So we want our starfish to be destroyed so we can regenerate it. You can block with the starfish, but you won't always be attacked by your opponents. I guess you could do stuff to force attacks, but pinging it for damage can be an easy way to kill the starfish. So, Brigid, Hero of Kinsabale, is a 4-mana white legendary creature with First Strike, and you can tap it to deal 2 damage to each attacking or blocking creature target player controls. And it's a 2/3. So you attack with your Starfish. They're not going to block it. It's 0 damage anyway. You'll tap her, ping it, destroy it, and then regenerate it. Then you got Zurin Spellcaster. It's a 3 mana blue creature that taps to do 1 damage to a creature or player, and it's a 1/1. Same deal, except for you don't have to actually attack. You can just tap this. Since we are pinging, enrage abilities can be something good for our deck. Raging Raptors is a 3 mana green creature that lets you search for a basic land and put it on the battlefield tapped when it's dealt damage. It's a 2/3. Hornet Nest is also a 3 mana green creature, but it has Defender, and when it is dealt damage, you create that many 1/1 insects with flying and death touch. It's a 0/2. So you can ping these for value for mana ramp or for tokens. Although they're not doing it now, Regenerate was a huge theme back in the day. Regenerate is easy. Green does it pretty well. I think black probably does it the best. Warp and Vigor is a 2 mana instant that regenerates each creature you control, which is really good in almost any green deck. I play this card actually a lot. Then you got Broken Fall. It is a 3 mana green enchantment. You return it to your hand to regenerate target creature. So it's actually a repeatable way, just like our commander, to regenerate something. You can throw other starfish in here. There aren't really that many. Plagon, Lord of the Beach, is a 3 mana blue legendary creature that ETBs to draw a card for each creature you control with toughness greater than its power, which each starfish token will have this. It'll have 1 toughness and 0 power, so it meets the qualifications. You can also pay a white or a blue to have target creature assign damage equal to its toughness rather than its power. Then you can play token doublers because remember, you're making starfish token that are pretty weak. Having more and more and more will be great. You got Adrix and Nev. You got Parallel Lives, Doubling Season, Annoyed and Possession. We are in the color set that doubles tokens, so you won't have any issues there. So you got all your starfish. People have been cutting off your starfish's arms, growing you more starfish. Now what are we going to do? How is Patrick going to win this? You can play Overrun Effects, one of my favorites that I have yet to play, but as soon as it came out, I bought like 4 copies of, was Preposterous Proportions. It is a funny one. So it's 7 mana sorcery, green sorcery. It gives all your creatures +10/+10 in vigilance. Doesn't give trample, but you can give things, put things in your deck that give trample. But +10/+10 for 7 mana to all creatures, pretty powerful. Mirror Entity is also technically a starfish, as changeling, so it's a 3 mana white creature. You pay X until end of turn. Creatures you control become XX and have all creature types. So it turns all your creatures into starfish, which is just fits the theme. And it can one shot your opponent. I remember one time someone tried to play Victim of Night, I think it was, to destroy non-vampire or something. And then I used this to turn all my creatures into vampire. Mirror Entity's a tricky little guy. And that's essentially the deck. You regenerate your starfish, you cut their arms off, make more, cut their arms off, make more. For every arm you lose. It's a resilient deck, and since Generate isn't a popular ability, most destroy spells don't say it cannot be regenerated anymore. Like Wrath of God was like the main wrath back in the day. It says they can't be regenerated. But nowadays, those words don't appear on cards anymore because regenerate's not a thing anymore. So you will hopefully clean house with this deck. Let's say you are a planeswalker. You're just chilling, doing your thing, planeswalking around, and then you get pulled to Ravnica for War of the Spark. What kind of magic would you want as your weaponry to use in that war? To me, here's my top 3. First, transmutation, turning things into other things. Okay, Nicol Bolas, you're a big bag at Elder Dragon. I get it. You're cool. Respect you. And boom, you're a 1/1 frog. Step on you, save the universe. Everyone praises me. And then I guess 2 would be like time magic, and then 3 would be lore magic or lore mage. I don't know. But the main one, which is what this deck is about, is transmutation. Multiple enchantments do this. Casmina's Transmutation is a 2 mana blue aura enchantment that turns enchanted creature into a 1/1 with no abilities. And then Dark Steel Mutation, probably one you've seen. It's got printed in like 5 or 6 commander decks. Is a 2 mana white aura enchant creature. Then that enchanted creature becomes an insect artifact creature with base power and toughness 0/1 and has indestructible. It loses all other abilities and all creature types. Now that is gonna just wreck your opponent, because what your opponents will typically do is if you use Casmina's Transmutation on their commander, they're gonna hate it, but they're just gonna block with it. Goes to command zone, replay it. Dark Steel Mutation though, they can block with it for sure, but it's not gonna die. The commander is Heliod the Radiant Dawn. He is a 2 generic, 2 white legendary enchantment creature god. When he ETBs, he brings back an enchantment from your graveyard to your hand, and then you can transform him. Heliod the Warped Eclipse is really the one we really like. It's a legendary enchantment creature, Phyrexian god. That's pretty cool. You may cast spells as though they had flash. Spells you cast cost 1 generic less for each card your opponent has drawn this turn. Okay, so the main reason we want this is to give our transform spells, our polymorphin spells, flash. It's almost as good as removal. It's essentially a generous gift. You're essentially destroying whatever they had and giving them something they don't want. Of course, it's not destroying it. They can't recur it. They're probably going to have to block with it to get it back if it's their commander, for example. Also, Heliod and a god in general, just smiting someone, smiting a mortal, and making them turn into a 1/1 is just great flavor in my book. Heliod's a really interesting character. He was the leader of the gods on Theros. It's a plane based around Greek mythology. He was essentially their Zeus. One of the most powerful, he made a planeswalker, Elspeth, his champion, who eventually beat Zyndados. Then he betrayed her, stabbing her in the back. He was afraid that she would turn on him. Then she got back from the underworld, beat Heliod. And then Heliod's rival, Erebus, god of the dead, punished him in his realm. But then Phyrexia came, making people believe that Heliod was a Phyrexian and more powerful to escape his prison. And belief on Theros is what powers the gods, so he eventually did. But then Kaya killed him, so he's dead now. There are so many ways to turn your opponent's stuff into useless cards. All except for, I think, two makes them lose all their abilities, so keep that in mind. Eden by Piranhas has Flash and turns them into 1/1 black skeletons. Deep Freeze turns them into 0/4 walls with Defender. Amphibious Downpour has Flash and Storm and turns them into 1/1 frogs. Ichthyomorphosis turns them into a 0/1 fish. One with the Stars turns them into an enchantment, but they keep their abilities. Imprison in the Moon turns a creature, land, or planeswalker into a land that taps for colorless. Foul Play is actually an uncard that turns them into a 1/1 bird named Chicken. Frogify turns them into a frog. Did you think we were done? We're not even close. You got Overwhelming Splendor, one of the best ones. It turns all enchanted players' creatures into 1/1s. Into Deep has split second and turns them into clue artifacts. Minimus Containment enchants non-land permanent and turns them into treasure. And now that I'm thinking about it, we can't turn Nicol Bolas into a 1/1 unless he's a creature, like with Casmina's transformation. But you can turn him into a treasure and then spend that money to buy some coffee or something. Then you got Reprobation. It turns them into 0/1 cowards. Witness Protection turns them into 1/1 legitimate business persons. Utter Insignificance turns them into 1/1s. They do keep their creature type, but they lose all abilities. Swift Reconfiguration has Flash and turns them into vehicles. They do get to keep their abilities for that one. And Stasis Field turns them into 0/2 defenders. Auras will be aplenty in this deck, so stuff like Core Spirit Dancer and really any Enchantress, if you want to throw them in here, will be great. Arden, Intrepid Archaeologist, is a 3 mana white legendary creature that can move around auras and equipments at the beginning of combat. It can attach it to something else. So If you enchanted your opponent's commander with Frogify, but then they play a Blightsteel Colossus and you want to enchant that, make that a 1/1 with no abilities. With Arden, at the beginning of combat, you can switch it from their commander to Blightsteel. You want board wipes in literally every deck, but for a deck like this, it's going to be hard because your enchantments are something you want to stick around, of course. So something like Winds of Wrath, which is going to be great for this deck, it's a 5-mana white sorcery that destroys all non-enchanted creatures. Then you got Zinc, Paladin Unbroken. He's a cool win con for this deck. He's a 4-mana legendary creature. He's white. He has double strike, and he gives auras you control Exalted. So the way Exalted works is if you attack alone, the Exalted gives that creature you're attacking alone with +1/+1 until end of turn. So for each aura you have, hopefully you have 4, 5, or 6 out. It'll give whatever creature, maybe it's your commander, maybe it's Zinc, and you just win for game. You just swing for lethal essentially. And that's the deck. You smite your opponent's creatures for daring to challenge you as the god you are. You have the right to do that to them. You turn them into bugs, frogs, walls, whatever you want. And then hopefully you get in with your commander. You try to get in with some kind of enchantress theme, draw some cards. It'll be a really fun deck. Your opponents may not like it, but that's their fault for challenging a god. Sometimes when I'm going through cards, I see one that just like the art just sticks out to me and it makes me want to build. Have you guys seen cards like this? I bet you have. Comment down below if you have. Liberated Livestock is one of those cards. You can tell the artist actually put a lot of effort and cared about the art of this. I don't know if Wizards of the Coast prompted them or he just sent it in and they made it. I don't know how it works. Kiss and Co. He's really great. I've seen some of his other artwork. He's always on point. It also helps that this is a cool, interesting card. So Living Livestock is the secret commander to this deck. It's a 6-mana white creature that's a cat, bird, and ox. When it dies, you get a 1/1 white bird with flying, a 2/4 white ox, and a 1/1 white cat with lifelink. For each of those tokens, you can put an aura card from your hand onto the battlefield attached to it, and it's a 4/6. Have you seen a card ever just like that? It's almost impossible to. There's not many. It essentially separates into 3 and then gets auras back or cheats them from your hand because actually you get them from your graveyard or your hand. The closest I can think of is something like Somberwald Beastmaster, which is a 7-mana creature human ranger. When it enters, you get a 2/2 wolf, a 3/3 beast, and a 4/4 beast, and then it gives creature tokens you control death touch. That's the closest I've seen, and it's an ETB. It's not a die. There's actually a couple that do this, and they're usually a lot of mana, but they get you 4 creatures. So that's the theme of this deck is going to essentially be that having these big creatures out and then profiting from them ETBing or dying. So I've talked about feigned death effects before. They're essentially instants that target a creature about to die, and then when it does die, you bring it back, usually with some kind of benefit. However, there are a series of cards that are auras that do the same thing. Here's 8 of them. There's so many in the deck that you can play. You got Necrogen Communion. It returns them, but also gives them Toxin too. You got Minions Return that has Flash and returns the creature. You got Fungal Fortitude. It returns it and it gives it +2/+0. Gift of Immortality returns the creature, then the gift returns at the end step. Unhallowed Pact just returns the creature. Unholy Indenture returns them with a +1/+1 counter. Shades from returns gives them the ability pay a black, then it gets +1/+1 until it turns, so it becomes a shade essentially, and it returns them. Then you got Kaya's Ghost Form. It just returns them to the battlefield, but you can also choose Planeswalkers with it. Now, Enchantress Aura Aristocrats isn't really an archetype, but we can make it an archetype with this deck. So you want to play auras that benefit from creatures dying. These are usually never played because once the creature dies, why put a bunch of enchantments on it? Why boost it. Why do any of that? Because it's just going to, you want it to die, so all the auras will also die with it. That's what this deck does well. It doesn't really care about that. It brings auras back. Now, Fruit of the First Tree is a 4-mana green aura. When enchanted creature dies, you get X life and draw X cards, where X is its toughness. So it's a draw engine that you can hopefully repeat with the Living Livestock ability. Then you got Casting Bones. It's a 3-mana black aura. When enchanted creature dies, you draw 3, then discard a card. Then One with the Kami is a 4-mana green aura with flash. When enchanted creature dies, or another modified creature you control dies, create X 1/1 colorless spirit tokens, where X is that creature's power. That's going to be great in this deck. And then Next of Kin is a 3-mana green aura. When enchanted creature dies, return a creature from your hand or command zone onto the battlefield with lesser CMC. Then return Next of Kin attached to it at the end step. So this is repeatable, and if you put it on your Living Livestock, you'll be able to get both your commanders, who we'll talk about here in a second. Being an Aura Aristocrat deck, if that's what you want to call it, like I said, there's no archetype for that. You want to do a lot of sacrificing. There's actually aura that do the sacrificing, because remember, your liberated livestock has a death trigger, so every time it dies, you're getting more and more and more tokens. We want an army of tokens. So something like Dark Privilege is a 2-mana black aura that gives the creature +1/+1. And then you can sacrifice a creature to regenerate enchanted creature. So it also can protect our commander or something, because you obviously don't want to put these on the liberated livestock unless you have to. And then you got Consecrated by Blood. It's a 4-mana black aura that gives +2/+2 and flying. Then you can sacrifice 2 creatures to regenerate this creature. We can attach this to our commanders, for example, and then sacrifice the livestock to protect our commander, make a bunch of tokens. They're very versatile kind of cards. Now, our commanders, we're going to have 2. It's a partner commander. Arden is really the commander we care about. He actually can, like I said earlier in this video, move auras around. So the auras, let's just kind of set up the situation. You got Living Livestock attached with an aura that brings it back. You sacrifice the Living Livestock, the aura goes with it. You make tokens, you bring the aura back onto the token. It's useless on a token because you can't bring tokens back, of course. So the Living Livestock will return as well. Arden is on the field. You move to your combat. You bring back, you move the Feigned Death to the Living Livestock so you can sacrifice it again, bringing it back, sacrificing again. So just keep that. That's essentially the reason for him. I also have green and black because obviously aristocrats, those are pretty good colors for aristocrats. And Akira Sadiki is something that gains you life. Our Living Livestock, our Ox, they're going to have high toughness, so you will be gaining a fair amount of life. One thing I want to mention is obviously we're going to be sacrificing a lot of things. Things are dying left and right. You're going to want to put death trigger doublers in here. There's only a couple in the game. Drivnod, Carnage Dominus is an example of that. You also want to put every single card that says when something dies, draw a card. You can also put enchantresses in here, or you can just mix it up. There's not a plethora of death when something dies, draw a card. There's like a handful of them. So, supplement with the enchantress, and your draw package is going to be amazing for this deck. You're obviously going to want to tutor and draw for that Living Livestock. So just keep that in mind. And that's essentially the deck. You get Living Livestock out, you attach it with a Feigned Death aura, you sacrifice it, it comes back, you bring the aura back, you move it back to the livestock, you sacrifice it, bring it back, the aura comes back, you move it to the livestock, and you just keep repeating that, making a whole farm of animals to attack your opponents with. Thanks so much for watching till the end of this video. These were fun decks to design. I really want to play with them. If you like them, check out the deck links down below. And if you like unique decks or maybe Magic the Gathering lore, feel free to subscribe to my channel where I post weekly. And until next time, guys.